Yesterday, I told you the story of this town council in Woodland, North Carolina, which rejected plans to rezone land for a solar farm after some residents had voiced fears about solar panels causing cancer or stopping plants from growing or sucking up all the energy from the sun. These were crazy concerns from Bobby and Jane Mann. And after we did the story yesterday, Ben, I started getting emails from people saying, David, that story has been debunked. So I said, well, let me explore what that means. What does it mean that it's been debunked? The debunking is not that those claims were not made by the Mann couple, Bobby and Jane Mann. The debunking was those weren't the specific reasons why the town decided not to put the solar panels in. And so, Jane Mann still showed up, a retired science teacher, and made the case that she's worried the solar panels could cause cancer and would suck up all the sun's energy. How do you handle when you're told you've said something wrong about a story? I guess we sort of overstated the impact that those comments had on voting no on the solar farm. But I don't think the story was really debunked. A retired science teacher really said she's worried solar panels will suck up the sun's energy.
Yeah, you know what? It's the level of idiocy that is allowed in our public discourse and that it is allowed to deter actual progress that I think we really need to focus on. So I don't think that you were too far off the mark.
The reality is the town council rejected the solar power plan, not because they agreed with Jane Mann that it might suck up all the sun's energy, but rather because it wouldn't benefit them financially. And there's this weird situation where even though the solar panels would have been outside of the city limits, but at the same time, they still had a say in whether that should happen or whether it should not happen. So it actually brings up a lot of other questions about how can a town council decide on what goes on outside of its own area, which is interesting, and we could talk about that. The real concern here is that we have a science teacher that showed up, decided I'm going to show up where they're talking about putting in a solar panel farm and say, no one has proven to me that solar panels don't cause cancer. People should be up in arms about that, not about the fact that the story has been debunked, which I would argue it has not.
Right. It coincides with this misinformation and this disinformation that goes on in conservative circles. It's just like Ted Cruz showing up on NPR to discuss why he's qualified to dismantle and dismiss NASA data because his parents were scientists.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news, and I'm glad to tell people about this isn't about bashing North Carolina the way some thought it was. In 2014, North Carolina installed almost 400 megawatts of solar electric capacity, which ranks it second nationally. That's fantastic. We should all be thrilled about that. It's not about bashing North Carolina. It's about reporting that a retired science teacher wanted proof that the solar panels wouldn't cause cancer and was concerned that they would just absorb and use up all of the sun's energy. We should be looking at North Carolina and saying, this is fantastic. It's not about bashing North Carolina.
Right. No, really. We really need to drill down on the ability of people who think like this to use their modest platform or their very large platform to spread misinformation and to stoke fears and animus towards progress.
And we know that with regard to solar power, as I told you yesterday, there have been these reports where people like to say, oh, we don't get enough sun in the United States to really switch over to solar power. Germany, which gets as much sun as Alaska, has more than enough sun to switch over to solar power. And that's Alaska, right? And we're talking about the heartland here, which gets far more sun. So we can't fall into this misinformation, which oftentimes is sort of planted seeds by those who deny climate change, those who want to continue seeing the fossil fuel industry receive the subsidies that it does.
It's just enough misinformation to muddy the waters so it's all a wash, and anything that is a wash for conservatism is a win because we don't do anything, and that's their goal.
Whether it's confusion around, well, we might not have enough sun or solar panels might cause cancer, once you sort of dirty the pool, that's a win for the deniers and those in favor of fossil fuels.